think what we do influence them the most, the parents.
But I also, but I think culture, society in general, has a big influence as they become teenagers, especially, and they get into middle school and high school.
When our children were little, you could wait a little longer. Now, with our grandchildren and great-grandchildren, you have to start about, I think, maybe 6 years old.
So you're saying that the generations now, it's like the topic about sex is more open now? They're learning.
Or more needed. You think more needed because of the
exposure of television, movies, and
they teased me about taking them out behind the woodpile. That's what I did.
with our
that's
values.
how I was when I was growing up.
And then it changes, like you said, with time, generationally. My mom got older, and she's like, now she tells me, can you talk to your children about this and that, and about their private areas, and how people shouldn't be, touching them there, or things like that, which before it's something that at my age I would have never known.
You don't have to talk to people about sex. Animals have sex. People have sex. You don't have to talk to them about anything because they just go do it. So when you talk about sex, to talk about sex in the context under which it is established, you have to talk about in the confines of a relationship. What you do in a family is talk about relationships. You don't start talking about sex when they're 2 and 3 and 4. You're teaching them about relationships.
Through your own actions, maybe? Or?
Through own actions, through our conversations, through corrections of the kids, through input from others, and you don't let them around people who have the input that do things that are unnatural to a relationship. So then, when you have established that at 2, 3, 4, and 5, when they're 8, 10, 12, and now they're developing sexually in their hormones, now the conversation naturally progresses to, what does this mean that you feel that way? But it's always in the context of a relationship, because who do you have to teach about sex? As you take your own character and say, what do I have to be taught about sex? I can go have sex without even someone telling me anything, because you just follow your natural tendency. But does that form a relationship? No. When you start with a relationship, it's not difficult to talk about anything that goes on between two people. But if you want to start with sex, how do you take sex and go to relationship?
Right, that's where it's uncomfortable, because you just make it about the actual
the physical act.
The physical act, yes.
Not what goes on emotionally between the two people.
You say that your children basically started learning from birth around both of you and your interactions then? About our sexuality, human sexuality, and human relationships, how you're putting in everything?
I think that's very true, because we have a boy and a girl. So when they become the least aware of their bodies, you don't run through the house naked. Kids do that, and it's kind of fun and enjoyable. But then you start teaching them, no, that's
respect for your own body.
Right, that is your body. You start protecting it yourself. And as we know now, if you want to talk about the way society has gone, the bounds are just about down. And so a lot of things go on which need to be stopped at some point. But we started very early.
We have been in total agreement most of the time when it concerns those type of situations, and we talked to both the girl and the boy as they were growing up and when they were mature enough to understand what was going on, and we taught them. And we've done that for 43 years, and now we're starting to do the same thing with our grandkids. So,
we're all with our first wife.
And the way we were raised was a very private, more like what you were talking about. So it was not as, we were not open. No.
Yeah.
But you have to understand also that
the time changes.
Our parents were, like when I was born, my mother was 43 when I was born, almost 44. So and she was born in 1901. So that gives you an age span there that just did not talk about things like that. So I had a tendency to learn from other people.
You found yourself through more of society and outside influences.
To a certain extent, yes. But through that, I also learned to respect who I was and not go into some of those areas. And then when we formed our relationship, we just kind of decided this is what we're going to do with our kids. You're not going to hide anything.
Children learn through the actions, through relationship. So when a question comes up, you answer it honestly, and then they form their thoughts, and then you hear back from them, and then you can talk to them about it. And certainly there doesn't have to be a lot of detail because they understand the difference between a man and a woman, a young boy and a young girl. They know the difference.